Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. HTM here. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing great, and honestly, I'm excited for ESO's next update, the Markarth DLC and update 28. We learned so much this weekend that I can't wait to dive into, so let's jump right into it. Timestamps, by the way, are provided as well, so go ahead and use those if you want to jump to a specific topic. First, let's talk about the brand new zone coming in the Markarth DLC, known as the Reach. This area is not really new to Elder Scrolls fans, but it is, of course, new to ESO. And since the game's timeline is hundreds of years before the events of Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, the Reach will look and feel familiar, but also unique and fresh, because we've never seen it in this specific point in history. Now, what I think sounds really interesting as well is that the developers described a unique Reachman-focused storyline for this DLC, dealing with the Reach people as more than just the traditional one-dimensional enemy of the Nords. Instead, we will be interacting with many of the Reach people as fully fleshed out characters with their own backstories and motivations for how they behave in the world, leaving it up to us as the player to side with them or not. One such character mentioned during the preview event is named Arana. She is a Reach witch, which is actually a term of respect among her people, and she seems to play an important part in the upcoming Markarth storyline, as she is mentioned several times during the preview event. Regarding other characters we'll be seeing in the Markarth DLC, we definitely will see the return of the main big bad in the Greymoor storyline, that's Rada el-Saran. Lyris returns to the story as well as Sai Sahan, and Varandas is said to come back as well and is actually hinted as having a hidden secret connection with Al-Saran. All in all, the cast of characters looks to be quite large with many converging storylines, which is exciting, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. Now let's talk about the city of Markarth itself, which is the central focus of the zone, and it looks absolutely amazing from what we've seen in the footage from the preview event. This is essentially a Dwemer ruin, but recently repurposed by the Reach people, so it seems to have this interesting kind of mix of new and old, combining those ancient Dwemer ruins and technology with the Reachman's more supernatural side of things. The city itself has a crazy amount of verticality with huge towers and waterfalls, but it's said that these outer structures are really just scratching the surface of what's really there deep within the mountain. And of course, we have the continuation of Blackreach underneath Markarth, which is actually what I'm most excited for. Blackreach was one of my favorite additions to the Greymoor chapter, and seeing that zone and this alien-like aesthetic extended even further now to the Markarth DLC, yes, this is what I want. Thank you. The team talked about how they mix the Dwemer style for these massive structures underneath with the more cathedral-like structures of the vampire aesthetic, since vampires exist here as well, and the results look insane. Even in just these short preview clips, I'm definitely looking forward to this. Of course, we'll have more enemies, more Dwemers, including this massive beast. All told, the Markarth DLC will include about 10 hours of new story content, not to mention a brand new arena, which we'll talk about next. So a big surprise for me, and I think many ESO players, was the unveiling of a brand new combat arena for the Markarth DLC. This is called Vateshran Hollow, and it is a brand new solo arena with both normal and veteran versions. This is actually the place where the Reachmen go to prove themselves as warriors worthy of the Reach, which is actually pretty cool from a story standpoint, I think. Now, from what I can tell from the preview footage, this is not like Maelstrom Arena, not really at all. So first, the arenas, which they also call wings. These are more similar to dungeons, I think, in terms of the openness and progression from one area to the next. So this is not your typical circular arena from Maelstrom with enemies spawning in at certain points in waves. No, this is something more organic, more natural, where you progress deeper and deeper into the arena itself from one encounter to the next, which I actually kind of like that format. There are also a lot of transversal or movement-based challenges within these arenas. For example, the grappling hook from previous DLCs is actually making a return here, as well as some Daedric portals that are going to move you around, but with a time limit. And then also these lava shield ball things that basically let you run across lava for a short duration, which looks pretty fun. Now, there are 3 arena stages or wings in total, and each one has to do with a different Daedric prince. There is the Wounding, dedicated to Molag Bal. You've got Hunter's Grotto, dedicated to Hircine. And finally, the Brimstone Den, dedicated to Mehrunes Dagon. Now, the order that you complete the 3 arenas is completely up to you, but what's really interesting here is that the difficulty of each arena changes depending on the order in which you complete them. So the first arena you pick will be the easiest, the second will be slightly harder, and the third will be the hardest still. Each arena has 2 bosses total, and once you complete all 3 arenas, you will then be able to approach the final boss, which was not shown during the event, but should be pretty interesting. And of course, there are new sets and rewards for completing this brand new arena, as you would expect, including a brand new light, medium, and armor set, and the usual ability-altering sets based on weapon skills as we've come to expect from ESO arenas. For example, we have the Frenzied Momentum set. This, of course, goes with the two-hand ability Momentum, or Rally, as you might know it. For this, you gain stacks of Frenzied Momentum every time you use a stamina ability while Rally is active, and once you reach the maximum amount of stacks, your next heavy attack will release a huge wave of damage. Then we've got the Wrath of Elements. This is going to apply to like Elemental Drain or weakness to elements, just depending on the morph that you pick. This creates a tether between you and your enemies, applying damage based on the type of staff that you have, so either Flame, Shock, or Frost. Overall, I think this is a great addition to the game, and I will definitely be checking it out tomorrow once the PTS goes live. So make sure you're subscribed here with your notifications turned on for many more updates and videos coming out over the next week. So in total, there are about 17 new item sets coming in the Markarth DLC, which includes the new Overland sets, new crafted sets, the new arena sets we just talked about, and actually 2 brand new mythic items, one of which was actually shown during the preview. That's called the Ring of the Pale Order. So yet another mythic ring. This is what, our 3rd? This one is pretty interesting, and I think it applies to PvE, maybe solo builds, as well as PvP. So with this mythic, you restore 15% of the damage you deal as health, but you cannot be healed by anyone other than yourself. So if you are playing solo, that really doesn't matter. You'll get free healing just for doing damage. This is going to be great, especially for some stamina builds. So I definitely will be checking this out. Now, Antiquities is expanding quite a bit in Markarth as well. With over 20 new Antiquities, there will be a new pet acquired through fragments similar to the mount from the Greymoor chapter. There's going to be a new motif and, of course, the mythics that we talked about. Housing is getting some updates as well with 2 brand new homes. Got the Stone Eagle Eyrie and my personal favorite, Shalador's Shrouded Realm. This is actually a pocket realm of Oblivion, apparently, blending the ancient Nord architecture style with Shalador's magic. This thing looks pretty impressive. There'll be plenty of new furnishings added as well, including a full set of Dwemer furnishings. So if you're into housing, definitely some new stuff to keep you busy. The combat team is working as always, and it seems we have quite a few major changes on the way for Update 28, which will be released at the same time as the Markarth DLC. Rob Garrett reviewed many of these this weekend on the ESO forums, as well as during the preview event. And of course, everything will be revealed as soon as the patch notes drop next week. But these are the highlights. So number 1, crit chance is getting reduced. Now, we don't know by how much yet, but the combat team has identified how powerful crit focus spells are, and so they've decided to finally balance those. This is a bit concerning to me, but keep in mind we don't have all the details yet, so I will reserve my judgment for now. Number 2 is combined stats, and this is something I'm actually really excited for. Critical chance, which previously has had separate stats for weapon critical versus spell critical, this is now going to be combined into one single stat for crit chance. But basically it just means that instead of 2 separate stats, one for weapon-based critical and one for spell-based, you now have a single stat called critical chance. Rob also mentioned during the live stream that penetration was also potentially being combined into a single stat as well. Of course, physical penetration versus spell penetration, that's a very similar issue in ESO combat. Now, it wasn't clear if this is actually coming out in Update 28 or if this would maybe be the next update. But either way, I absolutely love both of these ideas, combining these two stats into one. This is actually something I've been asking about since forever, it seems, and this will help to diversify builds quite a bit, in my opinion, especially if you, like me, if you're interested in hybrid playstyles that can actually combine stamina and magicka abilities while still being effective in group situations. Combining those stats, again, critical chance and penetration into one overall stat for each one, that's going to be actually a major step forward in making hybrids more viable for endgame builds. Number 3 is going to be changes to Frost Staff tanking and Frost Staffs in general. ZOS has acknowledged now the awkwardness of Frost Staff tanking and is looking to improve it, as well as provide some options for both Frost-based support builds and DPS builds. So they are making some changes in that regard. For example, the Frost Staff will no longer taunt based on heavy attacking. The taunt will actually be moved to the Frost Clench ability. Also, if you cast Wall of Elements while using a Frost Staff, you'll be able to give you and your group an extra damage shield. And those were just 2 quick examples. Many more changes are suggested as coming to the Frost Staff skills, but we'll just have to wait until Monday to see the full list of changes. And finally, they did mention some overall balancing to the major and minor buff system. Again, the full effects of this are not really clear yet. They did also mention a new buff or debuff, depending on how you classify it, entering the game. I believe they called it Brittle, which is basically a increase of critical damage done to the enemy that has that debuff. That's going to be available through the Frost Staff as well. Just a quick note here on the PvP side of things, combat in Battlegrounds has not been forgotten, but instead of adding maybe a new mode or a map, they simply have reinstated what they previously removed, which is going to be group queuing for Battlegrounds. So you can now queue up with friends as well as solo queue. It's up to you what you want to do. However, with that addition, they also removed the separate queues for different game types to basically help consolidate the players into these 2 main Battleground queues. So you won't be able to queue up for just deathmatch anymore. You won't be able to queue up for just flag games. It's just solo or group queue. That's the 2 options. And last but not least, let's talk about crafting and inventory management. Some exciting changes are actually coming if you are a writ crafter, as you can now see your writs in progress as part of the base game UI, both for PC and console. So that should make tracking those writs even easier. To help further with inventory management, inventory subcategories is now going to be a thing. So for example, if you're viewing your weapons, you can narrow this down further by weapon type. Same thing with armor, which can be sorted into light, medium, or heavy armor. And we also have a text-based search box, which again is promised to work on both PC and console. Big gain for consoles there for sure. And then finally, we have a brand new collection system called Set Collections. Basically, the idea here is that you can collect any piece from any set in the game, and ESO will now track that for you in your collections. Not only is that nice for collectors out there, but there's actually some practical applications here because you can reconstruct a brand new item of that exact same set piece that you've collected by actually spending transmute stones. Yes, finally another use for multiple transmute stones that we have sitting in our banks. Now at base, this is going to cost around 75 transmute stones to recreate a set piece that you've already collected, but this cost actually goes down when you collect more set pieces from that same set. And if you have all of them, so let's say all of the armor pieces, feet, legs, waist, hands, chest, weapons, and jewelry, if you have everything in the set, the cost goes down pretty far. I think 25 was the total that they mentioned for recreating one piece at that point. And additionally, to go along with this brand new use of transmute gems, the total amount of gems your character is able to hold will actually be increased to 1,000. That's going to be for ESO Plus members, and then up to 500 if you don't have ESO Plus. And with that, that's basically everything that we know at this point about the Markarth DLC. That was revealed during the preview event. Absolutely massive DLC coming up. I'm pretty excited for it. A lot of this is surprising. Now, we will be getting much more additional information next week once the PTS goes live on Monday. Like I said, I will be covering those changes right here on HTM, so make sure you're subscribed still. Make sure you have notifications turned on so you don't miss any updates. As always, if you liked the video today, don't forget to like it. Let me know what you think of the new updates in the comments section below. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next video.